Be prepared. Be prepared for anything. The folks at Getac are sponsoring this video to chat about industrial grade, rugged, portable computing. I do not work in any industry where we would traditionally turn to these kinds of laptops, and this is going to be a little bit different than many of my other phone and laptop and computer conversations. What I like checking out, this helps showcase some really good ideas that I wish we saw more in our other consumer grade solutions. I'm not a cop or a firefighter or work on a construction site, but I was an Eagle Scout and I used to teach wilderness survival to kids, and I also used to work a lot out in the field as a location sound mixer for film and TV. If I'm out in the middle of the desert backing up field recordings, maybe I don't want a skinny little MacBook. Maybe I want a little more junk in the trunk. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. The example before us today is this beauty, the Getac V110, the new G7. This comes with a 12th generation Intel Core i7, 16 gigs of RAM, and a 512 gigabyte SSD. This variant is a tablet convertible. The screen swivels to fold flat on top of the keyboard. For all of our convertible laptop tablet hybrids, this has historically been my favorite solution for making a tablet mode. It's a little more complicated of a hinge, but I like being able to cover the keyboard more than having that keyboard sort of stick out the back when you're in tablet mode. But talking about laptop hybrids, that's about where the familiarity ends. This is a chunky, armor-clad portable appliance. I've been using it for a couple months now, and I love it. Like I'm walking around with RoboCop's lunchbox. Now, when we go rugged, we're addressing completely different compute jobs and locations. Attention to all those little design details, that matters a lot. When tools need to be operated with different consideration for things like weather. Can you use it? I mean, can you really use it and all of its features while you're wearing gloves? That's one of the reasons why the base on this thing is significantly thicker than most standalone notebooks. It's why a handle built into the frame makes a lot of sense, and that I have enough clearance to carry this or hold it without disrupting other work, and I could be doing that with gloves on. And it's an idea I worry we lose sight of with a lot of consumer tech reviews. We've been on such a focused path for thinness and aesthetic that folks don't always realize when they have to change their behavior to manage the tech they own. Now, I think more often that should work the other way around, where good tech fits into our lifestyle and we aren't managing it as much. Now, I've been working on this rig for a couple months. I took it on a short road trip, and you adapt to the size really quick. I started to appreciate the good ideas here I wish consumer gear would adopt. For being tough and armor-clad, we're not sacrificing any other laptop-y ideas. 2 USB-A ports and a Thunderbolt port. And I wish we had another USB-C on the opposite side of the chassis, but I'm not lacking functionality. It's a smaller computer, not dissimilar in internals to something like a Surface laptop, but with the extra space available, we get features like a full-sized HDMI and an Ethernet port. This is going beyond a lot of our business grade solutions. So I was a little nervous when we had a barrel connector to charge this, but the V110 can also be charged through that Thunderbolt port. And when we're talking about a field computer, we're trading a traditional idea of battery life with a more practical field solution. The case is chunky, so you'd expect a huge battery inside, but instead, we get 2 smaller batteries that can be hot swapped while the computer is running. It's something our industrial computers never gave up on, and something I hope laptops will get back in the near future. And from a management or an IT perspective, it matters that we can quickly pop out storage, add a smart card reader, that there's been a consistent approach to docks and accessories. In gadget reviews, we talk a lot about ecosystem, but you really want to make sure that these products live through multiple accessories and vice versa. We can quickly deploy use familiar equipment, we've got easy maintenance, and that reduces downtime. The Getac also offers a whole suite of tools and management software. It's a really different manufacturer relationship with their customers, especially as they're looking to support systems over much longer periods of time. In operation, the system is respectively powerful. It's a 12th gen Core i7 U series processor, and this was a big turn for Intel because this is when we also started playing with efficiency cores. So depending on your workload, you can hit a lower power state and run these batteries longer out in the field before you need to hot swap. And U series processors were definitely stressing that better battery life and maximizing the horsepower. But I think U series is the better solution in this bracket. I run tests like synthetic benchmarks, and I'm going to show you the results from video rendering tests. The V110 performs really well compared to traditional laptops with similar specs. It's been storming like crazy across Southern California, so I'd take a moment just to come out, find a little patch of shade, and do some work outside, which is the perfect opportunity to also kind of take this out into the field and show you some pretty B-roll of what this laptop looks like. Those video editing and rendering numbers are kind of interesting. It does help us kind of point this in the right direction for who might be a good fit for this type of solution, but this is such a purpose-built appliance. Doing that CPU render and seeing that it was almost 3 minutes long to finish a 1-minute project, that is the kind of time hit you could take if you were desperate to finish a project out in the field. I'm a little more encouraged by those GPU rendering scores being a whole minute faster. I'm an online content creator and I do a lot of video work out in the field, so I kind of view a lot of these performance metrics through the lens of what my own work is, what my profession is. That's what I consider professional, which is why it's always critical, even for me, to make sure we're talking about things is this the right tool for the right job? For everything else that I might want compute power on the go, it is just so reassuring to fire this thing up and not worry that something small, like just being on a rough surface, is gonna mess it up to a point where I'd want to get parts repaired or replaced. It's really just in a situation like this right here. I'm out at a park and I'm working on these concrete slab picnic tables. The kind of situation where I'd be really anxious to bring a nicer laptop that might get all kind of scratched up or roughed up, or just the little bits of like dirt and grit might get into the keys or the hinge on my system. I'm really a lot less bothered with the Getac. I do not torture test or try to intentionally damage review gear. I'm not into that kind of gadget destruction, salacious viewing, but I thought nothing of just carting this out to a park to get some writing done. It's got a really nice chunky keyboard, excellent key travel, and a distinct tactile feedback. It's a joy to type on, and there's basically zero case flex under this keyboard. Better still, the screen gets super bright. It's rated at 1000 nits. It's one of the best outdoor viewable laptop screens I've maybe used ever. We've fawned over gaming notebooks with really bright screens, but this is about 50% brighter than any of the consumer systems we can buy. And then you can swivel it around, lay it flat, and you have a great full-featured tablet PC too. Of course, it's crazy overkill for what most folks need, but that doesn't mean we couldn't close in on a few more of these ideas. I showed my wife, and she thought it was really funny at first, and it's really big, and it's kind of clunky, but she's also worked in entertainment. The first thing she thought of was working a location shoot, and she had to cover this to sign documents and waivers and have actors really make sure all their paperwork was submitted. Oh, I could have used this and it would have been a lot easier to move around and have actors sign. A rugged, dust, and weather-resistant system is a lot more confidence-inspiring to use out and about than the sleekest and the thinnest and lightest tablets. Of course, building to this degree is expensive. Getac has a 3-year bumper-to-bumper warranty, but as a consumer, you can't just go to the Getac website and buy one. Resellers online selling this model, they can get pretty pricey. Techies have this lowest common denominator idea of tech. A processor and a screen should cost this much. It should have cost less. And then there's a lot of complaining if other aspects of the system increase the price, like build quality. We're seeing it with phones right now. Prices climb on new phones offering longer support. Not just because software is expensive to maintain over time, but because there's also a promise being made by the manufacturer that a phone with longer software support should also be hardware repairable over 5 to 7 years. That also means a commitment to replacement parts out in the ecosystem. You have to keep those parts available longer, and those costs have to be built into the price of the gadget being sold. A rugged fleet machine like this requires a ton of R&D and future-proofing. Connectors and docks and accessories have to be thought out for long contracts and commitments. Interoperability is a crazy thing to consider when you might need to use things being made today with tech that hasn't been invented yet years in the future. It costs a lot to get those ideas right. I love rugged gear so much. Like, there's the one idea that you make the lightest and the sleekest system you can, and then the user figures out power management in the field. If they need to pack batteries, the user buys cases and bags to protect it, and that's the better mass market strategy. I totally get it. I just wish more of this could show up in some niche or boutique systems directed at parents and teachers and kids, or field gear for people who travel a lot or do a lot of camping. There's this small gap of consumers that are kind of being ignored right now. I'm running out of descriptors for how much I like this thing. It's such a champ. It's a diesel work truck of a laptop. It's a kaiju of a laptop. It's like RoboCop's lunchbox. I can't stop slapping it as I'm making my transitions through this video. So another huge thank you to Getac for sending this my way, and also letting me take it on a longer test drive, really get a feel for it. So I will, of course, link below where you can find more information on Getac systems, and if you work in an industry where this build quality would be appreciated, you should definitely consider checking out this system and all of their support options. And maybe with a little more general interest, companies like Getac might consider opening up some of their sales and support to regular consumers just looking to pick up a beefy system that better meets their needs. It could happen. A boy can dream. As always, thanks so much for watching, for sharing these reviews. I almost slapped it again, just handling this next transition. All the support lately has been absolutely fantastic. Those of you who are clicking on links in my video descriptions, if you're hitting my home site, SomeGadgetGuy.com, or if you're joining the list of names scrolling by on your screen from my Patreon. That's patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. This list is basically the coolest collection of tech pals in the universe, so I hope you'll check them out. Now, you know where you can find me around the rest of the internet, at SomeGadgetGuy basically everywhere, but these days, trying to spend a bit more time on the Mastodons, sharing photos on the Flickr, a little less so on the Facebooks and the Instagrams, and definitely not on the Twitters, and I will catch you all on the next video.